We begin in shadow, not the shadow of a Gotham alley, but a more intimate darkness, one that can exist between two people in a room that looks to the outside world like a sanctuary, a living room, a bedroom, the space between a question and an answer. Tonight we ask the most dangerous question of all: what is the difference between love and a lie that feels like it? Because the greatest predators I have faced never wore masks. Their weapon isn't fear, it's affection. Their trap isn't a cage, it's a promise. And the first, most crucial battle in understanding the dark side of relationships is fought on the field of definition. We must learn to see the line, the one so many are trained not to see. Love, in its true form, is an architecture of safety. It is the freedom to be your complete, authentic self, with all your flaws and fears and dreams, knowing the foundation will hold. It is mutual respect that needs no enforcement. It is a choice, renewed daily, to stand beside someone, not over them. It says, I am here with you, and its greatest gift is the space it gives you to grow, even if that growth sometimes means growing in a direction slightly apart. But manipulation is the opposite architecture. It is not built with bricks of care, but with mirrors of control. Its core is not connection, but conquest. It does not seek a partner, it seeks a territory, your mind, your emotions, your autonomy. We have a name for this systematic campaign. It is called coercive control. Not a single argument, not a moment of jealousy, but a slow, silent occupation of your inner world. Think of it as a climate. Love offers the steady, nurturing climate of spring, sometimes stormy, yes, but always with the sun's return inherent in its promise. Coercive control is a manufactured climate. First, it might feel like a perpetual, dazzling summer. The love bombing, the overwhelming attention that makes you feel like the only person in the universe. But this is a calculated season. Its purpose is to make you thirsty for that sun, so that when the controller gradually turns down the heat, when the chill sets in, the criticism, the coldness, the withdrawal, you will do anything to feel that initial warmth again. You will blame yourself for the change in weather. You will learn to read their every cloud. And here is where the line blurs into invisibility for so many, because the language of control pirates the language of love. I'm doing this because I love you so much. I get jealous because I care. I need to know where you are because I worry. It wraps the chain in velvet. It disguises surveillance as concern, domination as passion, possession as devotion. A loving partner might say, I trust you, so be safe. A controlling one says, you must prove you can be trusted, so tell me everything. The goal of this coercive control is dependency. It is to make their version of reality your only map. It is to isolate you, piece by piece, from the landmarks of your old self. Your friends who don't understand us, your hobbies that take you away from me, your instincts that they systematically gaslight you into distrusting. Love empowers, control disempowers. Love builds you up. Control convinces you that you are fundamentally lacking, that only they can complete you, correct you, save you from yourself. This is the dark secret at the heart of this manipulation. It often feels like love. The intensity is mistaken for passion, the jealousy for desire, the constant analysis of your behavior for a depth of caring. It hooks into our most profound human needs, to be seen, to be cherished, to belong. And that is why it is so devastatingly effective. The victim isn't loving a monster. They are fighting to save the wonderful person they were promised at the beginning, believing they are the one failing the relationship. So we must sharpen our senses. We must look past the words to the patterns, past the promise to the effect. Does this person make you feel more free, or more cautious, more confident, or perpetually not enough? Are you growing, or are you shrinking to fit the confines of their expectations? True love has a liberating quality. Manipulation has a claustrophobic one, no matter how large the gilded room may appear. The darkness relies on us confusing the two. Our work tonight is to turn on the light. Let us begin, so we understand the climate they create. Now we must catalog the tools. The instruments of control are rarely weapons you can see. They are psychological, engineered to be invisible to an outside observer, and often, in the beginning, to you. The manipulator is a craftsman of reality, and their workshop is your own mind. They don't take a hammer to your spirit. They gently, persistently turn the screws. Let's examine the toolkit. First, the distortion of reality itself, gaslighting. It is not simply lying. It is a systematic campaign to make you doubt your own memory, perception, and sanity. You remember a conversation clearly. They insist it never happened, or that you said something cruel. You point out a broken promise. They recount an elaborate, alternate version where you are at fault. You're too sensitive, they sigh. You're imagining things. That's not what happened. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts to your confidence. Over time, you stop trusting your own eyes. You start relying on their version of events as the true one. You become an inmate in a prison where the walls are made of your own self-doubt, and they hold the only key to what's real. Then, the lever of obligation, guilt-tripping. This tool converts your empathy, your compassion, your very goodness, into a weakness to be exploited. Their unhappiness, their discomfort, becomes your responsibility. If you really love me, you wouldn't see your friends tonight. After all I've done for you, this is how you repay me? It cloaks a demand in the costume of a wound. You are no longer making a choice. You are tending to a injury you are told you caused. You learn to walk on eggshells, not to avoid an explosion, but to avoid the profound, soul-crushing guilt of having hurt the person who claims to love you. It is emotional blackmail with your own conscience as the currency. But perhaps the most insidious tool is the intermittent reinforcement, the hot and cold cycle. This is a psychological engine of addiction. It is not constant cruelty. That would be easy to leave. It is the unpredictable reward. They withdraw affection. They are cold and critical for days. And then, just as you are despairing, they return with the warmth, the charm, the love-bombing intensity of the beginning. They are sorry. They promise change. They are the person you fell for. This cycle is calculated chaos. The brain, wired to seek patterns, goes into overdrive. The low of their withdrawal creates a desperate craving for the high of their affection. And when that high comes, it feels like a rescue, like love itself. You are not in a relationship. You are on a slot machine, pouring your emotional coins into the hope of a jackpot that they alone control. The highs reinforce the loyalty, and the lows break down your resistance. You become conditioned to believe that the pain is the price you pay for the occasional glorious reward. And to make this system airtight, they must isolate. This is strategic. They begin subtly to critique the people in your life. Your best friend is a bad influence. Your family is too intrusive. Your colleague is flirting with you. They frame themselves as your only true ally in a world of competitors and enemies. Slowly, your support network erodes. You stop mentioning your friends to avoid the criticism. You decline invitations to avoid the argument later. You find yourself alone, with their voice as the only narrative in your head. A castle under siege is easier to control when the bridges to the outside world have been burned. These tools are never presented as weapons. They are framed as the fruits of deep feeling. The gaslighting is trying to help you see the truth. The guilt is showing you how much you matter. The hot and cold cycle is just being passionate. The isolation is us against the world. They weaponize the very vocabulary of intimacy. Recognizing these tools is not about paranoia. It is about clarity. It is learning to see the wiring behind the magic trick. When you see the pattern, the distortion, the guilt, the addictive push and pull, the slow severing of your ties, you see the blueprint of control, not the architecture of love. Because love builds bridges, manipulation builds labyrinths, and no one should live in a maze of their partner's design. A question I have heard in the aftermath, in the whispers of those trying to understand a pain that makes no logical sense, is a simple one. Why did they stay? It is the wrong question. It assumes freedom is a light switch. It assumes the exit is always visible, and the only thing required is the will to walk through it. But when you are inside the labyrinth, every corridor looks the same. Every door leads back to the center, and the Minotaur's voice is the only one that makes sense. The question isn't about choice. It's about chains, invisible, psychological chains that are stronger than any lock I have ever picked. The first, and perhaps strongest, is a trauma bond. Do not mistake this for love. It is addiction forged in crisis. It is the chemical paradox of being harmed by the very person you turn to for comfort. The cycle of cruelty and kindness, of devaluation and love bombing, creates a powerful destructive attachment. Your brain, in a state of constant stress, learns to associate the manipulator, the source of the PAI, NIN, with the relief from that pain. Their affection becomes a drug to end the withdrawal of their disdain. You are not holding on to a person. You are clinging to the lifeline they occasionally throw you after pushing you overboard. Breaking a trauma bond feels like detoxing from a poison you have come to believe is medicine. Then, there is the erosion of self. This is the silent work. Through gaslighting, constant criticism, and shifting goalposts, your identity is systematically dismantled. You are told you are too sensitive, too needy, too chaotic, too much. You begin to believe it. The confident, whole person who entered the relationship feels like a ghost. What remains is a hollowed-out version, convinced of its own brokenness. And when you believe you are broken, you believe you are lucky to have anyone willing to stay and fix you. You stay because you no longer trust that you could survive on the outside, or that you deserve to. This connects to the sunk cost fallacy, but it is not about money. It is about time, hope, and shared history. I have invested 3 years. We have a child. We built a life. I have forgiven so much. To leave feels like declaring that all that pain, all that effort, all that forgiveness was for nothing. It feels like an admission of profound waste. So you double down on a bad investment, pouring more of yourself into a void, hoping to finally reach the return you were promised at the start. The thought of walking away feels like admitting you have been living a lie, and the ego will fight desperately to avoid that truth. And underpinning it all is fear, but not a simple fear of being alone. It is a complex, layered terror, fear of their retaliation. Will they ruin your reputation, harm themselves, escalate the abuse? Fear of the unknown. If this is love, what does the world outside hold? Fear that they were right all along. At you are incapable and unlovable, and the relationship, for all its pain, is the best you will ever get. These chains are what the manipulator forges in the dark. They are masters of exploiting fundamental human needs, our need for connection, for certainty, for a narrative that makes sense of our suffering. They offer a story. We are a passionate, star-crossed couple. The world doesn't understand us. Our love is just so intense. This story is easier to bear than the truth. I am being systematically broken by someone I trust. The psyche will choose the bearable lie over the unbearable reality every time. So we must reframe the question. It is never, why did you stay? The real question is, what were you holding on to? And the answer is often the ghost of the person they pretended to be at the beginning, the hope that the pain would finally mean something, and the shattered pieces of a self they convinced you were worthless. Leaving isn't walking out a door. It is climbing a mountain with broken tools, carrying the weight of all they told you you were. The escape begins not with your feet, but with your mind. You must first reclaim the territory they occupied, your own truth. The labyrinth has been upgraded. Its walls are no longer just words in a quiet room. They are made of code, of light on a screen, of the constant, silent hum of a connected world. The tools of control have evolved. They are no longer just psychological. They are now digital, granting the manipulator abilities that would have been the domain of fiction a generation ago. The dark side of relationships has found its perfect amplifier in the technology we carry in our pockets. Consider the oldest tool, isolation. In the past, it required criticism of your friends, arguments about your outings. Now it can be enforced with a silent, omniscient presence. Digital surveillance turns a DVC of connection into a leash. Location sharing becomes a mandate, not a convenience. A missed call or a delayed text reply is not an occurrence. It is evidence of betrayal, triggering an interrogation. They demand passwords. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. And frame it as intimacy. Your inbox, your search history, your photo gallery become their territory to patrol. You learn to self-censor, to preemptively avoid the sites, the contacts, the apps that might cause a misunderstanding. The prison is not a place. It is a perimeter drawn around your digital life. And you are both the inmate and the warden, policing your own behavior to keep the peace. Then the love bombing, that overwhelming, addictive initial affection, has been supercharged. It is no longer just flowers and constant attention. It is a 24/7 digital barrage, hundreds of texts a day, walls of messages proclaiming you as their soulmate, their universe. Social media posts that perform your relationship for an audience, creating a narrative of perfect union that is impossible to live up to and terrifying to contradict. This creates a false intimacy at warp speed, a synthetic closeness that bypasses the natural, gradual building of trust. You feel known, worshipped, seen, but you are being downloaded into a fantasy. And when the devaluation phase begins, that same digital channel becomes a weapon of silence. The constant notifications stop. The seen receipt is ignored for hours. The online performance ceases. The digital cold is as palpable as any physical withdrawal, and you are left staring at a silent screen, desperate to rekindle the artificial sun. But perhaps the most corrosive modern element is the perpetual presence. There is no respite. In the past, you could leave their physical space. You could have a moment to breathe, to think your own thoughts, to remember who you were. Oh, outside their gaze, now the manipulator is in your hand, on your nightstand, a portal they can step through at any moment, day or night. A good morning text is a check-in. A thinking of you is an accountability ping. The expectation of immediate response creates a state of constant low-grade anxiety. You are never off duty. Your mind is never fully your own, because a part of it is always waiting for the next vibration, the next chime, braced for what it might demand. Your private mental space, the last sanctuary, has been colonized, and all of this is shrouded in the plausible deniability of modern life. I was just worried about you. I'm so crazy about you, I can't help but text. I saw you were online. Why didn't you answer me? The language of concern and passion provides the perfect cover for a regime of monitoring and control. The technology itself becomes the alibi. It's not stalking, it's sharing your location. It's not surveillance, it's being connected. This digital dimension creates a terrifying efficiency. It accelerates the cycles of idealization and devaluation. It makes isolation instantaneous and comprehensive. It provides the manipulator with a God's eye view of your patterns, your social circle, your movements. The goal remains the same, to own your reality. But now they have a dashboard for it. We must understand the phone, the app, the platform. They are not the problem. They're the conduit. The poison is the same. The need for dominance, the hunger for control. But the syringe is now in everyone's hand. The battle for your autonomy is no longer just fought in conversations. It is fought in your notification settings, your privacy controls, and in your right to silence your own device. Your digital life should be a garden, not a panopticon. Tend to its walls, so you find yourself at the center of the labyrinth. The walls they build, tier high. The mirrors they place show you only broken reflections. You have recognized the tools, understood the chains. Now comes the most critical, the most personal mission you will ever undertake. Not escaping them, but reclaiming you. This is not a single act. It is a campaign, a patient, deliberate rebuilding on ground that has been scorched. It begins with the most radical of acts in a world they controlled, reestablishing a boundary, not a wall of anger, but a line in the sand of your own soul. It can be as small as saying, "No, I cannot talk right now." It can be muting notifications, reclaiming an hour of your day as sacred and unreachable. At first, it will feel like a rebellion. You will feel guilt. You will hear their voice in your head, predicting catastrophe, accusing you of coldness. That is the ghost of the chains. You must act anyway. Each enforced boundary, no matter how tiny, is a brick you lay in the foundation of your own sovereignty. It is a message, first to yourself: my needs, my time, my peace have worth. But you cannot do this alone in the echo chamber they created. You must seek an external perspective. This is where you reconnect the wires they severed. You find one person, a trusted friend you were taught to doubt, a family member you were told was intrusive, a therapist, a professional paid to have no allegiance but to your well-being. You speak the truth. You have been gaslit into hiding. You say the quiet part aloud. I think I'm being controlled. I'm afraid of my partner's reactions. I no longer trust my own memory. Speaking, it breaks the spell. In the eyes of a sane, compassionate witness, you see your reality reflected back, undistorted. They become your touchstone, the anchor point in the storm of doubt. They help you recalibrate your compass. And then, the most painstaking work, practicing self-validation. Your inner voice has been their ventriloquist dummy for so long. You must take it back. This is a discipline. When you have a thought, an instinct, a feeling, you stop and you ask, is this mine? Or is this what I was trained to believe? When you feel guilt for a normal desire, you question its source. When you feel a surge of unworthiness, you trace its origin. You start a new narrative in your own handwriting. You write down your truths in a place they cannot access. Today, I felt happy for 5 minutes listening to an old song. My instinct about that situation at work was correct. I am allowed to feel tired. You are gathering evidence of your own existence, your own competence, your own inherent value. You are building a case for yourself, by yourself. This process, this reclamation, is ultimately about relearning trust. But not trust in others, not yet. That comes later. First, you must relearn to trust yourself, your perceptions, your judgments, your right to occupy space without apology. You are deprogramming a cult of one. There will be setbacks, days when the old tapes play loudly, moments of profound grief for the love you thought you had, for the time lost in the maze. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of feeling again. The numbness is wearing off. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about integrating the experience into your strength. It is about understanding the blueprint of the trap so thoroughly that you can never be caught in one like it again. It is about gathering the scattered pieces of your identity and realizing as you hold them that they were never as broken as you were told. They were just waiting for you to remember how they fit together. You are not rebuilding the person you were before. That person met the manipulator and was overmatched. You are building someone wiser, stronger, with a map of the darkness etched into their bones. The light you are walking toward is not at the end of the tunnel. You are learning to generate it yourself from within. We have walked through the darkness. We have mapped its contours, its tools, its psychological traps, its digital extensions. We have traced the path of reclamation. To truly armor ourselves against that darkness, we must do more than understand what love is not. We must become fluent in what it is. We must cultivate not just suspicion, but a profound, unshakable discernment. We must learn to recognize the climate of healthy love so we can never again be fooled by a manufactured season. Healthy love is not a perfect, static state of bliss. It is a living ecosystem. Its foundation is not passion, but respect. A deep, abiding respect for the other as a sovereign individual. This means their thoughts, their feelings, their boundaries, their time apart from you, are treated as sacred, not as obstacles to your unity or territories to be annexed. You are curious about their inner world. You do not seek to conquer it. You celebrate their successes without a flicker of envy, because their joy is your joy, not a measure of your lack. From this respect grows secure attachment. This is the opposite of the addictive, anxious clutch of the trauma bond. Secure attachment is the quiet, powerful knowledge that you are both free to leave, but you both choose, consistently and without coercion, to stay. There is no testing, no games of hot and cold to prove devotion. The connection is a steady current, not a series of electrical shocks. You feel calm in their presence, not exhilarated and exhausted. You are not afraid of a wrong word causing abandonment, because the bond is built on substance, not on eggshells. This allows for open communication that is not a battlefield. In healthy love, conflict is not a crisis of rejection. It is a problem to be solved together. You can say, "This hurt me," without fear of it being weaponized against you later or dismissed as your oversensitivity. You can express a need without it being framed as a failing on their part. Disagreement does not mean the end of the world. It means you have two perspectives to synthesize. The goal is understanding, not winning. The silence between you is comfortable, not charged with unspoken punishments. And from all this, the respect, security, the open channels flows, the greatest gift of real love, the freedom to grow. A manipulative relationship is a closed system. It requires you to remain small, predictable, and contained within the limits of their comfort. Healthy love is an open system. It requires growth. It cheers as you develop new interests, deepen old friendships, pursue ambitions that might take time and attention away from the couple. Your individual flourishing does not threaten the bond, it strengthens it, because you are both bringing more vitality, more experience, more of your evolved selves back to the shared space. You are two distinct trees, your roots intertwined for strength, but your branches reaching freely toward your own sun. Discernment, then, is the practice of checking the climate. It is asking yourself, not do they say they love me, but how do I feel in this love? Do I feel expansive or constricted? Do I feel more myself or a carefully edited version? Is my world getting bigger or smaller? Does this person make me believe in my own potential, or do they subtly injure my limitations? This is our collective work. It is not just about healing the victims, but educating everyone to spot the red flags before the maze is built. It is about fostering a culture where respect is non-negotiable, where possessiveness is seen not as romance but as a warning sign, where a person's right to their own mind, body, and digital life is absolute. We have seen the dark side. We know its tricks. Let that knowledge not make us cynical but fiercely selective. Let it make us architects of a different kind of relationship, one built on the solid ground of mutual autonomy, where the light you generate from within is met and reflected, not absorbed and extinguished. Build your relationships on the bedrock of authentic respect. Everything else is just shadow.